Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel where I dive deep into social media and influencer culture and call people out for their crappy behaviors. Today I have a bit of a different angle for you guys because have you ever just watched something and gone, I need to discuss this with someone immediately? That is what happened to me with the Netflix documentary Unknown Number. Because what the actual flying fart knuckles did I watch last night? It is an absolutely wild story, and I feel like Netflix dropped the ball in quite a few places, and I really want to highlight where they dropped the ball because it's almost like we need a part 2 to this. There are so many questions that are left unanswered, so I will give a spoiler alert warning. Now I am going to do a slight recap. It's obviously not going to be comprehensive because there is so much to this story, but it is going to be a major spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil who the unknown sender was. So now is your chance to click out of here and go and watch the documentary if you would like to watch the documentary. And if you're like, meh, whatever, I will try and do a thorough enough recap for you and summarize it all right here. But I have a feeling we are going to have a lot to discuss, guys. So let's just get into it. Okay, so like I said, first things first, I do want to do a slight recap. I found an article that shed some more light into some of the backstory and some of the going-ons that Netflix didn't get to. And then, like I said, I really want to have a discussion about where Netflix dropped the ball, because there are certain places where you're like, no, why didn't we question this? Why didn't we get in trouble for this? So once again, final 5-second warning to click out if you don't want spoiler alerts for the Unknown Number, a Catfish high school story documentary, whatever it's called, Unknown Number. Click out now and then come back and discuss after you've watched, because there will be a lot to discuss, I promise. So this story is about two high school students who started dating in middle schoolish. They were about 12, 13 years old and were labeled really quickly as the golden couple, as couple goals. And people thought they were going to be together forever. And then one day, shortly before Halloween of 2020, they get added to this group chat and get some weird text messages. And at this point, it was bizarre. It was kind of mean, but it was very much high school bully vibes. It was talking about an upcoming Halloween party and how Lauren, the girl, wasn't invited to the Halloween party. They basically said, hi Lauren, Owen's breaking up with you. He doesn't like you. He hasn't liked you for a long time. And he's coming to this Halloween party that you're not invited to, which she was invited to. And the final text says, he's coming and we're gonna be there together, and he likes me, he likes to touch my hair, and we're DTF, which I think you guys can figure out what that means, but I'll put it on the screen right here because I don't think I can swear yet in this video without getting in trouble, especially something like that towards a minor. Anyway, those initial messages about 2 weeks before this Halloween party were weird, were concerning, a little alarming, but it really seemed just like high school trolls. And in the beginning of the documentary, they open up with how they live at a small town. The school they go to is literally kindergarten to grade 12. They grow up together, they stay in the same building, everybody knows everyone, and since there's nothing to do in the small town, people tend to talk about each other because it is their only form of entertainment. Those behaviors got passed down through the generations because it's the only thing to do. So it was quote unquote normalized to just shit talk everyone behind their back. Small town vibes, I guess. At this point in time, Lauren and Owen had already been dating for a year. They were solid, labeled the golden couple. So when Lauren approached Owen about this, who also got the same messages, it was like, nah, there's no way. It's just someone trolling us. And in the beginning, those text messages does seem just like a high school kid trying to troll. A little far with the DTF. But after that, the texter goes radio silent for 11 months. The kids were like, cool, guess we're in the clear now. Thank goodness. That was super weird. Whatever, move on. And then all of a sudden the texts start up again. And in the span of 4 months, they went from Owen doesn't like you much to you're ugly, anorexic, and nobody's gonna want your flat ass, eventually telling Lauren to kill herself and that the world would be better off and that she ruined Owen's life and he would be better off. So very, very quickly, it escalated. And these poor kids were getting hundreds of text messages a day. So it was starting to obviously get super overwhelming. It was starting to weigh on them. And eventually Owen decided, you know what? We need to end this. We need to break up. And at this point, both of them had been fighting with each other. The texts were starting to come between them because obviously, eventually you're going to start believing it if you're being told repeatedly daily that you're a POS and nobody loves you. And equally, it would get super frustrating for Owen to constantly be blamed for this stuff that he's not doing, right? That is also what this texter seemed to want. So the kids thought, you know what, maybe if we break up, the harassment will stop. That's what they want after all, but it didn't stop. In fact, it got worse for Lauren, and the texter seemed to pick up on all of her insecurities and poke at them, placing self-doubt in her mind. She started questioning what she was wearing because she would wear leggings and be called a whore by this texter. It was absolutely horrific. I found a really great article that I will link down below from The Cut, which is a paid subscription, which I hate that, but Reddit pulled through with the free link, so I will have that linked down below for you guys because it really does paint a picture into more of the background of what was going on. So they describe Lauren as a quiet, kind of reserved to herself, sports kid, kind, just tomboy-ish, loved basketball and softball, and mostly kept to herself. And since it's a small town, if you're not in the in crowd, you're kind of outcasted. And this article says that it seems like Lauren's mom, Kendra, just really wanted her to be a part of the in crowd so that she would have less struggles, have less of a hard time fitting in and, less of a hard time with drama. Poor kid. And it also goes on to say that Kendra was a very involved mom. She was the coach of the softball team and would show up at the bake sales, and she was just really involved with the school activities and was kind of the complete opposite of Lauren, that outgoing, bubbly, cool mom, I guess you could say. And while the kids were getting these harassing text messages, both Kendra and Owen's mom, Jill, were very involved. They were at the school almost daily. They were trying to get to the bottom of who could be sending their children these texts. And they really weren't getting anywhere with the school. And then the threats started happening. Once it escalated to the point where they were telling Lauren to kill herself or they were going to do it, that's when the parents were super alarmed and were like, nope, this has gone too far, and decided to get the police involved. And there was back and forth with the police. They interviewed a bunch of kids, and they had one teen suspect in mind that they managed to narrow it down to, Chloe. And Chloe was basically accused with very little evidence of harassing Lauren and Owen. Now, Chloe was really close with Owen before him and Lauren started dating and really didn't get along with Lauren. Chloe was kind of the complete opposite of Lauren, had a natural confidence about her. The girls just didn't click. It happens. A lot of people started painting Chloe as this mean girl type, which, not gonna lie, given her parents, I believe that. But mean girl type with her little clique, think Regina George and the Plastics, is not a harasser, is not a bully necessarily, right? You can just be closed off. And Chloe also stated in the documentary that she was very competitive. So people probably took that as her not liking them on the basketball court, which it's like, yeah, fair. Like, she's just super into her sports. She's got her friend group. She's good. And apparently she had a ton of friends at different school districts. This girl was floating in friends. Natural confidence, right? And the reason they started to suspect Chloe was because the texter had said something about it being the girl who scored the most points at the basketball game the night before. It was something along the lines of that. Lauren and her mom went through the score sheet because her mom volunteered to keep score most games. And sure enough, Chloe had had the most points the night before. Or I think they said 12 points, and that was the number of points that she had scored. So that's why all signs pointed to Chloe, which blows my mind that we can just falsely accuse someone because a harasser is saying, yeah, the person who scored the most, 12 points. The fact that nobody believed Chloe, spoiler alert, no one believed that she didn't do it, that she wasn't involved, is mind-blowing to me. And on the other hand, I understand why people might not have believed her. Her dad was a cop, and her parents give off some really toxic vibes. Even going so far as to saying that Lauren and her father were involved and gonna get away with it all, and I messed up. I'll show you that clip later, though. We'll get into it. But after a while of Chloe being grilled by the police, grilled by her parents, just the whole 9 yards, she decided to dump her phone, which handed over to the police. They pull everything off of the phone that's ever existed and see if they can find anything. They didn't. So then it's back to square one. Okay, well, who's doing this? Because this texter seems to have inside knowledge of these kids' routines, of what they're doing, wearing, saying in school and in class. It was really weird. After the school kind of failed to do anything, that's when they decided to get the police involved, because these kids' mental health was seriously starting to take a turn. And like I had said, the threats started. But the police also did nothing. They interviewed the kids, borderline harassed the poor kids too. Anyone who they threw an accusation towards, they were so desperate for answers at that point that they just went hardcore on these people. It wasn't innocent until proven guilty. It was presumed guilty until proven innocent. These are children. They are 13, 14, maybe 15 years old at this point. Children. So after the police came up with nothing, they had to escalate it again, because again, the texts were coming in, sometimes 1,000 texts in a day at all hours of the night, which I don't know why we didn't change phone numbers and not give it to anyone. I don't know why we didn't, do anything. So after the FBI got involved and started sifting through 740 pages of nasty text messages, he managed to, what did he manage to do? Oh, he managed to track which app this sender was using, because even though it masks your phone number to the person you're sending it to, your phone number is still attached, and your IP address and the whole 9 yards. I don't know the full techness, but he tracked the IP address and then had asked for a list of phone numbers, because there was phone numbers associated with the IP address, cross-referenced it, did the whole 9 yards, and it turns out it was Kendra, Lauren's own mother, for almost 2 years, harassing her daughter in some of the most horrific ways you can imagine. She literally played with her daughter's mental health, poked at all of her insecurities, and ruined her self-esteem, completely broke her child. And when we get into the justification here shortly, you guys are going to see why that's doubly fucked up. But now I want to turn to the article that I had found, because Netflix didn't really talk about until the very end some of the red flags that they had noticed with Kendra. And this one brought up a few things that I saw. So we're not going to read the entire thing. We'll skim through it. But right here, after Lauren and Owen started dating, her mother, Kendra, came along too. At every opportunity, Kendra would ask them to wrap their arms around each other for a photo, which Lauren would turn into a present for Owen, like a personalized phone case. Kendra talked about the kids, Jill says, like they were going to be together forever. When COVID sent students home in the spring of 7th grade, the Lakaris joined the McKinney's pandemic bubble for dinners and bonfires. And over the summer, the families traveled as a group on their children's tournament weekends and camped together. In 8th grade, Kendra signed up to coach Owen's track team, becoming, he says, like a second mom. A regular spectator at Owen's matches, she drove Lauren 3 hours across Michigan to watch one of his championship games. Once, Kendra even suggested turning Owen's tournament in Florida into a Lakari family vacation, which Jill had to gently say no. Even so, the McKennies didn't feel like anything was amiss. The family's whole life was watching Lauren play sports, Jill says, and Owen seemed to be an extension of that. Dave saw Kendra's intentions as harmlessly basic. She wanted to belong. Which fair, especially if she is a sports mom and these kids had been dating for a year at this point. I went to my boyfriend's soccer games when I was a teenager with his mom and stuff like that. She never came to mind though, now that I think about it. But fair. She just wanted to be involved with the kids and be a support, especially since they were in the pandemic bubble together. They bubbled. So the article goes on to say a few weeks after they started dating, the first anonymous text hit Owen and Lauren's phones. Owen showed the text to his parents, who shrugged them off. It must be some kid who just wanted you to break up. And for a year, like I said, silence. And in the fall of 2020, when they were in 8th grade, they got some more messages. It's obvious he wants me. His attention is constantly on me. Not sure what he told you, but he is coming to the Halloween party and we are both DTF. He wants nothing to do with you. He thinks you're annoying and an ugly ass bitch and wishes you would leave him alone. Why do you think he is on his phone all the time texting me? You didn't get invited to sleep with him. I did. I'm spending the night with him. I'm sharing a bed with him, not you. And for the most part, the kids kind of left this alone, but sometimes Lauren would text back with, just leave us alone, or like, we're a strong couple, you're not gonna break us. And Owen would start texting back with, stop calling me names or I'm gonna confront you. And other times Lauren kind of gave in and said, I'll do whatever. I just want you to stop. Enough is enough. This is exhausting, and it must have been so exhausting. And all of this started to place doubt in Lauren's mind. Like, was he hanging out with other girls? Did he want to break up with me? What's true? What's a lie? Because it had been going on daily for so long, you have to start believing it. It's almost impossible to not start believing it. But by the start of high school, Owen began to pull away from his girlfriend. The texts made up 75% of the reason. It's just hard to be with someone after all that, he says. At a volleyball match in August of their freshman year, Owen and Lauren sat apart from each other. And that's when Lauren got messages from her mom. So the Netflix documentary actually didn't mention this. This is wild. Lauren started getting texts from her mom across the gym. Sit next to him. Answer me. Come here now. I'm pissed. Move your ass. Now. Now. I am fuming, pissed off. This is freaking ridiculous. Answer me and move your ass. Red flags much? Like, that's super red flags. She is so aggressive. And meanwhile, this is when the anonymous bully was picking up tempo. One said, "You're the definition of a perfect couple and will be the forever couple that gets married. Some of us don't want to hear it anymore." So that's where you start to get those jealousy vibes. Like, okay, maybe this person does just want the kids to break up. They're clearly jealous of their relationship in one way or another. But just days after the breakup, which again, they kept quiet at school, the cyberbully started declaring victory. He already chooses us, not you. He won't be with you this weekend, so don't even ask. Maybe you shouldn't have picked cross country over him. You proved he isn't important to you. We were there though. You don't get with him in bed. You don't sneak out with him. You fucking dress awful and ain't no guy want that. So it's just these absolutely disgusting messages designed to make Lauren hate herself. That's what it was. All of her confidence just gone down the toilet because of this texter, her mother. So that's kind of a super messy recap of everything that happened, I think, because there was a lot that went down. After they narrowed down that it was Kendra, they went to her house and confronted her. They're like, yeah, so the texts came back to your number, and Kendra's spirit dropped. What? No, not my number. So when they say, well, what were the motives? Was it Owen? Like, what's the motive behind this? Kendra says, no, nothing like that, which might not be a full-blown admission, but it's not denying that she did the thing. It's just saying that wasn't the motive. Right? I'll show you guys the body cam footage now because it's so interesting to see a narcissist called out for their crappy behaviors and caught in their own lies.
My number?
Yep.
Does it have to do with Owen? Is there an infatuation there with Owen?
No, nothing like that.
Okay, then just tell me what did he treat Lauren bad? I mean, something serious went on for a while, right?
Yeah, and it didn't start that way.
I'm sure it didn't.
I don't even know.
That's okay. Just start from the beginning. So they were dating, and then they broke up. So how did it really start? Like, why did it start? Did it start during when they were still dating?
It did.
Was he treating you bad?
But it didn't. The first ones didn't start with me.
Okay.
I will say that those ones were random or whatever.
So somebody else started those. You don't know.
But then I fed off of it.
The first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that some people think that Lauren and her dad were involved in all of this. I honestly, I don't know how people can believe that, but Chloe's parents said it out loud in the documentary. Here's that clip.
That Sean and Lauren are going to play this off like they were the victim in this shit. They had no clue what was going on, and they're going to get away with it because Mike Bain didn't do his fucking job and investigate them. And that's exactly what happened.
Proud of her for that.
And I understand that these two parents were likely super frustrated with the fact that their daughter got falsely accused, but we're blaming the wrong people here. Now we're blaming the victims of all of this. Because you have to remember too, what is Lauren's dad's name? I can't remember Lauren's dad. Is his name Steven? Anyway, Lauren's dad was put through all of this too and lied to likely a lot over about 10 years. At least that's what Kendra's cousin says. She's like, I don't think that there's any way that he knew, because Kendra is extremely manipulative and just a straight up liar, but also tries to say that she's a good person in the sense that if you needed help, she would drop everything and go help. She was super involved in the school. She was an involved parent, a little too involved. So it's wild to me to think that Lauren, a child, would be behind this or know about this. And for Chloe's parents to say something like that, it blew my mind. Again, I understand the frustration, but Kendra didn't want to get caught. So she framed your daughter. Why? Because your daughter was a mean girl in high school, is a mean girl in high school. And again, that doesn't mean that she's harassing people or bullying people. It's just she's not a very nice person, which the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I don't think. It was an easy target to try and frame. So to be mad at Lauren and her dad when it was Kendra who did all this, it blew my mind. And I'm pretty sure there's quite a few people who think that Lauren was involved in all of it. And I feel like it's because of her flat affect. Even in the police cam footage, when they pull Lauren in to tell her, well, first of all, they don't tell her straight up that your mom was the one who's been texting you for almost 2 years. They didn't tell her that in that moment. They said that her mom was up to some stuff and got a little bit carried away. What? You can see that poor kid completely shut down and dissociate. She is someone who has a flatter affect. It is her baseline, her normal. So for her to shut down in that moment when all of these thoughts are probably crashing around in her brain, not only did we find out who the stalker was, who this harasser was, but it turns out it was her own mother, the person who she'd been confiding in about all of this for the past 2 years, the person who's supposed to protect her, yet did all of this, being recorded. No doubt she didn't have much of a response, but you can tell by her body language, the look on her face, you can tell that that kid is broken. That was kind of just a side note. And kind of transitioning off of that topic and going back to Chloe, one thing that Netflix didn't really cover or anything or confront Kendra about is how she bullied Chloe and framed her, and how everyone just kind of neglected to acknowledge that. So again, I understand why Chloe's parents would be frustrated with her losing an entire year, but Owen and Lauren also lost almost 2 years of their lives. So again, wanting to protect her own kid and stuff like that, but the anger was so misdirected. For her to say that Lauren and Steven are just going to get away with it and move on and be seen as the victims, they were. they were victims of Kendra, just like your child. I don't know. It just makes no sense to me at all. Another huge red flag that Netflix seemed to miss is what she was saying about Owen. She had the most vulgar, sexualized texts that she was sending to this group chat, to her daughter, to Owen. They didn't show a whole lot of the texts that Owen had received because his parents had said, like, he was getting texts at all hours of the night at a certain point. And it's unclear as to whether or not all the texts were in this group message or if the kids were getting individualized texts. But I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that there was a group text going on, but the kids were also getting individual texts because in the article that we read a couple tidbits out of, after the breakup, Kendra was still telling Lauren to show Jill, Owen's mom, the text messages and share what the latest messages had said, which makes you think that, okay, they're not getting the same messages anymore. And I bring this up because Kendra was not charged with any type of predatory act towards children, despite sending messages so vulgar that it made a 53-year-old man blush, according to the superintendent. It made him so uncomfortable and turn red in the face because these messages to minors were that vulgar. And a year after Lauren and Owen broke up, he tried to start dating, and his new girlfriend's mom, who lives 2 hours from their small town, 2 hours away, got a random text message saying stuff like, Owen is mine, he's mine, a year after the breakup. And this was all Kendra at this point. So I feel like this predatory behavior was severely overlooked by Netflix. I don't know that you can get charged with anything because it wasn't directed at him, I don't think. Again, we don't know what text messages he got individually, but because those vulgar messages seem to go to Lauren, but about him, it's just really uncomfortable is what it is. So this Reddit post that I found says just that. What the unknown number, the high school catfish, totally downplayed. Why did Kendra go after Owen's new girlfriend a full year after he and Lauren broke up? That isolated single detail proves that this has absolutely nothing to do with protecting her daughter and everything to do with her own predatory obsession with Owen. Owen's mom tried to point it out, but they barely gave her a voice. It feels like the real story was predatory mom coach, but decided high school catfish story was way more marketable. It's like they are deliberately downplaying the darkest part of this story and perpetuating Kendra's misdirection and manipulation. And I couldn't agree more. The fact that this was barely brought up, the fact that she wasn't questioned about that is insanity to me. And now her justification was also something to write home about because, guys, you've seen me in my rage form. You've seen it before. I was raging at the TV last night because this woman was so saying the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. Her justification behind doing this to her daughter was to protect her. Why? Because she got R-worded at 17 years old and didn't want her daughter to suffer that ever. So instead, completely mentally destroyed her young daughter to make her think that she could never land a man. That was her justification behind it. It was to protect her. What? And then she even tries to say, I bet most of us have broken the law. I just got caught. Excuse you. And tries to compare what she did for 2 years, 22 months, to children, her child, to drunk driving. But lots of people don't get charged with drunk driving. So it's really giving the vibe of it's only illegal if you get caught. No, this is such a terrible thing to do to someone. And she tries to twist it as, oh, well, I have trauma and I wanted to protect her. No, bitch. We all have trauma. Every single one of us has some form of trauma, childhood trauma, whatever. And most people don't grow up to do stuff like this. Unhinged behavior. So let's see what people on Reddit have to say, because agreed, I think that they absolutely dropped the ball. And I was wondering why they portrayed Kendra the way they did in the documentary, because in the beginning of the documentary, she is there telling the story, innocent. And then when they get to the body cam footage and then they confront her and whatever, then she starts crying and like, I don't know why I did it. I was just trying to protect her. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Just, I don't understand necessarily why they did that, but I think that they put her at the end with her justification and kept it in the way they did because they knew that she was going to lose in the court of public opinion. They knew that everyone was going to call her out on this bullshit. And if one of you even supports what Kendra did, please let me know, because there is no way. And she got convicted. So obviously, like, terrible person. But there's no way that anyone could possibly be okay with that justification, with that rationale. There's no way. And I think that's why they kept it in, so that she would lose at the court of public opinion and just receive a whole bunch of backlash that way. Because why else would you keep it in? Seriously, the mom needs to be read for filth. The messages she sent were absolutely vile and disgusting. If it was a father/man sending those messages, I feel like the backlash would have been much harsher. The whole time the sheriff is confronting the mom with Lauren right there, I couldn't believe how she's fawning over her daughter she told to kill herself. Lauren didn't even seem fazed. Maybe it's shock that her mom just confessed to those disgusting messages, breaking her up with her boyfriend. JFC. Then to switch to her crying on camera for her interview. Get out of here, you psychopath. Agreed. Kendra hugging her when the dad told her to get out, my stomach dropped. She literally told her baby to off herself, but she's crying and hugging her like she really cares. That mother is a textbook manipulator, and she will continue to be that way, which is so sad because Lauren is still in contact with her mother, and my daughter made a epic point, my eldest. She's like, no, girl. You want a mom. You don't want that mom, your mom. Trust me. So to hear Lauren just feeling like a piece of her is missing, that makes me so sad for that kid. And we have to consider stuff like Stockholm syndrome, right? She was raised by an abusive, narcissistic, psychopathic mother, but it's still her mom. And then her mom manipulated her and abused her while simultaneously playing the hero in her story. That's just at 13, 14, 15, the most prominent years in a teenager's life, where the most development and coming into self happens. Good God. Or trying to come into yourself and figure out who you are and where you belong in this world. She even talks about getting caught and how that is the thing that matters when you do something wrong. What a demented mind. I wonder if she makes herself believe her own lies or if she's just a soulless psychopath. Yeah, her saying, we've all done something illegal, so you can't judge me because you're just as bad. I'm far from a perfect person, but there is nothing I have done in life that would ever come close to comparable to what she did. It really just shows the arguments these evil people use to justify their actions to themselves. Exactly. When she was trying to justify doing this to her daughter to protect her, you've all done illegal things too. There is a huge difference between stealing a lipstick from the drugstore and destroying your child, stalking and harassing her and another child for 2 years. Huge difference. And even at that, she tries to say that she didn't send the first text messages and that she just wanted to get to the bottom of who was doing it. And the best thing would have been to take Lauren's phone away and just stop it. But you were causing it. You could have just stopped and didn't. It was so fucked up. This person, I was literally yelling at my TV, you effed up royally. How effing stupid is she? Ugh, the daughter needs to stay very far away from her because she's going to continue to manipulate her. I hope her father steps up to prevent this. Me too. Honestly, it was kind of confusing to me that she was able to communicate with her mother And she's not now that she's out of prison, but the moment Lauren turns 18, 21, whatever, and isn't a minor anymore, I think she'll have the right to communicate with her mom. And I really hope she doesn't, for her own sake. I hope she's in counseling because she needs it. She needs to help work through these feelings and have a therapist help her work through the feeling of wanting a mother and a mother figure in her life, because that's totally valid, especially as a girl. But like, you don't need your mom. She doesn't need her mom. She doesn't need Kendra. Kendras are crazy, apparently. She acts like all she did was run a red light. Exactly. Big difference. Big difference. I was yelling at the screen when she gave the drunk driving analogy, and you'd be right here with me, but for a different reason. Drunk driving obviously isn't cool and unacceptable, especially in the world of Uber. However, the person wasn't telling their daughter to kill themselves and making obscene comments about what Owen was doing to her. What a minor was doing to her. Her trying to justify and rationalize it by saying people commit crimes all the time and don't get caught. You could be here too, but for different reasons, shows that she has absolutely zero remorse. I'm sorry that she got R-worded when she was 17, but if she thinks that harassing her daughter via texts and her boyfriend and kids in school being collateral damage as a scapegoat, harassing some poor girl's mom that Owen was dating to protect her daughter from the same, she is as delusional as we see she is. And that's exactly it. I said that too. She has absolutely zero remorse for what she did. Instead of saying sorry, instead of admitting that this was like the biggest fuck up that she could ever do, that she did wrong, that she hurt a lot of people in the process, it was justifying her actions and framing them as some sort of twisted, manipulative protection towards her daughter. No, doesn't work that way. Yeah, I found that part particularly disgusting amongst a field of disgusting statements and excuses she made on camera. Kendra is an ephemophilic, malignant narcissist who told her own daughter to kill herself, sent her graphic and abusive sexual content, threatened to kill her, all the hashtag bang bang stuff, and terrorized her for over a year and a half. She became romantically and sexually obsessed with an early teenage boy and stalked him and sent him, a child, sexually abusive messages as well. Those aren't ethical missteps like taking cash out of a wallet you found. She fundamentally altered the trajectory of those kids' emotional development and should have been put away for way longer than 19 months. This was actually so disgusting. Every time I saw Kendra shed a tear, I couldn't help but roll my eyes, because who does this to their own kid? She was obsessed with Owen, the end. And why the Netflix crew didn't ask her real questions? The father reacted appropriately by making her leave, and honestly, he was calmer than I would have been. It's a parent's sole responsibility to take care of their kids and make sure they're supported in every way. This was literally the opposite, and I can only hope that all kids and families involved heal from the trauma. I've seen people talk about Lauren's reaction and decision to keep her mom in her life, but she's young. And she grew up thinking her mom was her protector. Even during the abuse, she came home and her mom was there to save the day. These are the texts. Oh, sweetie, it's not true. Oh, no, you're beautiful. You're perfect. That is such a mental mindfuck for a little girl. She's not mentally developed, and no one should judge her for her own decisions. All we can do is hope she heals from this, regardless of whether or not she chooses to forgive Kendra. She wasn't crying because she was regretful or remorseful. It was so obvious that the entire time she was just trying to justify her actions. There was no regret there. There was no, oh, I fucked up in the biggest way possible. I'm so sorry for everyone I hurt. There was none of that. She was crying because she got caught. And that is just so disgusting. And it makes it so hard to empathize with her trauma and also to believe her trauma actually happened, considering she's very obviously a pathological liar and an attention seeker. Just terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. This is also a really good point. I kind of touched on it earlier. This was one of the most horrifying things I've ever watched. She was absolutely in love with Owen and told Lauren to off herself, and then she's sitting there crying, saying she did it because she loved her daughter. Also, sorry, I feel bad for Chloe and how horrible it must have been to have everyone think you did this, but her parents are awful. Such enablers. People keep calling her a bully, but they're just dramatic. And then saying Lauren is going to try and claim she's a victim in all of this and rolling their eyes. Just total narcissists. When they suspected it was the other girl, was her name Ariana? I can't remember. Owen's cousin was also blamed. They said they thought it could be her because of how Chloe treated her. Like, you don't see any issue with that. You know your daughter is treating someone so badly that you thought it might retaliate in such a hateful way. Were Owen's parents the only one with a lick of sense? Not even just the fact that both Chloe's friends also confronted her too. What does that say about your daughter? And you defend that? Also, did anyone get pissed off that Chloe's dad is apparently a police officer but blamed Lauren and Lauren's dad for the whole situation? Like they had any control over her mom being disturbed. I almost let the police officer thing go over my head. Chloe's parents are yucky. Yeah, I agree. Yes, I couldn't stand her parents. It's obvious Chloe was a bully. Owen was her friend and he said she wasn't nice. Yeah, that was a huge part of it too. He said like, oh, she wasn't a bully, but she wasn't a very nice person. And then there was this incident where there was carrots thrown, and apparently we lied about throwing carrots at someone, which I don't know why anyone would lie about getting carrots thrown at themselves. That's the type of mean girl vibes that I could see. They're calling her like a horse face or something like that and throwing carrots at her or whatever. Horrific. I thought that too. They acted like they were the biggest victims in all of this. Obviously, if even her own friends confronted her, there's something wrong there. Not to mention with Ariana, they said she was making it all up. So gross. I'm not surprised the dad is a cop. That stuck out to me too. Like, wait, what? Do you guys think Lauren and her dad knew about this? I don't think anyone outgrows high school in this backwoods Salem witch trial of a town. The whole town needs an adult. We need an adult.
I need an adult. I need an adult.
Chloe's parents definitely made the situation worse overall and then acted like victims. And you are so right about how they just shrugged off the fact that their daughter was probably a bully to Lauren's cousin. Owen's cousin, not Lauren's cousin. Chloe is obviously a bully and learned it from her parents. That's kind of what I said. Like, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yes, I know there was a lot to take in with Kendra, but I couldn't get past how Chloe's parents were clearly such unsympathetic bullies, and that, yes, Chloe is a mean girl, but she never stood a chance being raised by these two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't even blame Chloe for the mean girl vibes, to be honest. Her parents seem so horrible. It's obvious how she ended up that way. They were so aggressive from day one, dragged the cousin into it, and never apologized, and then tried to play the victim at the end of the film. WTF. This is exactly why Kendra made it seem like it was Chloe, because she knew it would be believable. Exactly. And that's why it blows my mind that Chloe's parents don't see that. But clearly they think their kid is perfect and they can do no wrong, which is fine to think your kid is perfect. But if there's like 18,000 people, including her own friends, confronting your daughter and believing, yeah, actually that checks, it could be her, then maybe we readjust our outlook on our kid's behavior and help her through whatever. Maybe we believe the victims, but no, they totally just blamed the victims and didn't believe a word they said. Enough comments, because we've been at this for a while. This is gonna be a long video. Honestly, guys, please discuss down below with me, because why was the sexual harassment overlooked? Why was the fact that Chloe's parents suck overlooked? It's honestly just so messed up from start to finish to think that a mother could put her kid through this. And the superintendent brought up a really good point that this seems to be a cyber Munchausen's type vibe, because if you think about Munchausen's and making your kids sick to save them, to bring them to the hospital, to be that good parent who cares so much, who's helping fix their child, this is kind of the same thing, but cyber. She bullied and destroyed any sense of worth and self that her daughter had, so that she would come home and be able to comfort her and love bomb her and tell her how perfect and beautiful she was. Unhinged behavior. And I think that she needs to be on the registry. And I absolutely think that there's no way this was just a spiral. And we are in that gray zone of, why did Netflix allow Kendra to be a part of this documentary? Why did they allow her to say her piece? I think that they shouldn't have allowed her to be a part of the story time, but I think that it would have been too weird to introduce her at the end, considering she was one of the people that was most involved in trying to figure out who it was, which is also psychotic behavior in itself. And I think that they gave her that platform to set her up for failure in the court of public opinion. However, I agree with everyone saying that they didn't press into anything at all hard enough. Like nothing. They gave her too much of the victimhoodness. And she's not a victim. She caused it. She might have been a victim to things in her past. Sure, fine. But most of us are a victim to things in our past and don't grow up to do this, especially to our own children or children, period. Clearly, she's developmentally arrested at 17 when whatever trauma happened. Like, clearly, because there's no way a grown-ass adult can act like this. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Not that it makes it okay for a 17-year-old to act like this, just to be clear, because like not okay to act like this at all. But like, and then to justify, oh my God. Let me know what you guys think of this entire case. Sorry, this video is probably gonna have been all over the place because there was a lot to discuss and I just wanted to kind of, you know, throw things back and forth with you guys because I don't understand any of this. It's such disgusting behavior. There's something up with Kendra's. For a while there, it was Brian's. You know, we had a couple terrible spouts of Brian's in a row. Now apparently it's Kendra's who are just batshit crazy. If you're a Kendra and one of my followers, though, I love you. You're not crazy, I promise. Maybe. I don't know. Are you lying and texting teenagers? It's so uncomfortable. I can't believe it. Thank you for spending time with me today during this chaotic story time. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video or enjoy my content in general. It really does help out the channel in a huge way, and I truly appreciate it at the end of the day. I hope you are having a fantastic day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will for sure talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.